Magandang umaga po sa lahat. Ako po ba ay naririnig ninyo?
Yes, sir.
Sikat ng araw.
Maraming salamat po.
Naririnig po.
Thank you po. So, maraming salamat po sa pagdalo. No? At sana po ay nasa maayos kayong kalagayan. Ako po si Leo, ako po yung nag-email sa inyo. I'm from the Disaster Resilience Institute po. At yun po, magandang umaga po ulit sa lahat. Marami pa pong susunod at hahabol sa ating orientation. Pero bago po siguro tayo magsimula, discuss ko lang po yung kaunting reminders dito sa ating orientation ngayon. Ayan. So, yung una po, automatic po na-off po yung ating cameras and microphones pagpasok para na rin maging seamless yung presentation ng ating speaker in case na pumasok po tayo in between discussions. So later on po, if may questions tayo sa ating speakers, pwede po nating i-maximize yung ating chat box dyan. At regarding po sa ating third reminder, isa lang naman po ang magdi-discuss regarding sa Pscp or sa Public Service Continuity Plan. So hindi po tayo mahihirapang magbato ng questions. And yun po, i-record po natin itong ating orientation meeting ngayon, pero hindi naman po ito i-upload sa kahit saang networking sites or etc. for documentation purposes lang po. And yun po, lastly, kindly change your name po doon sa pangalan po talaga natin na magre-reflect po sa inyong certificate. Yun po. Yun lamang po. Maraming salamat. In a while po, mag-start na rin po tayo. Magandang umaga po ulit. To formally begin our activity, let us all feel the presence of our Almighty God as we offer Him a song of praise, followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem to be led by the PUP Bagong Himig Serenata.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Bayang
mabiliw, besa silanganan, alat na puso, sa tipoy buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyat ka ng magiting, sa manlulupi, di ka pasisingin. Sa dagat at tulog, sa simol at sa langit mong paglaw, may dilag ang tulad, awit sa paglalinangan. Ang kislat ng pag-awat mo'y tagumpay na nakikinig, ang bituin ng araw niya, kailan pa may pag-ibig. Lupa ng araw ng walhati pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming di kaya na pag may mamati, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Maraming salamat. Thank you sa PUP Bagong Hinig Serenata, of course, sa University Center for Culture and the Arts. Ayun po, remind ko lamang po ulit, flash ko lang po ulit yung ating reminders bago mag-start ang ating orientation. Ayan po, so make sure po na habang nagsasalita rin yung ating speaker ay naka-off yung ating microphone. Meron naman pong portion para doon sa mga questions. Pero yun po, upon entry, naka-mute po ang ating microphone at naka-off ang ating camera. So if may questions po tayo later, pwede nating i-maximize ang ating chat box. At yun po, isa lang naman po ang magsasalita at magdidiscuss sa atin ng ating PSCP ng PSCP. So madali po ang magiging process natin ng pagtatanong. And regarding naman po doon sa ating recorded meeting ngayon, hindi naman po ito i-upload sa kahit anong site or social networking platform. Ito po ay for documentation purposes lamang. At please po sa lahat po ng members, pakipalitan po ang ating pangalan doon sa ating name na magre-reflect sa ating certificate later on. So, yun po. Maraming salamat po. And before anything else po, gusto ko lamang batiin ang mga representatives natin mula sa iba't ibang sektor na ating university, of course, Office of the President, Office of the Executive Vice President, Office of the Vice President for Academic Affairs, Office of the Vice President for Research, Extension, Planning and Development, Office of the Vice President for Finance, Office of the Vice President for Branches and Satellite Campuses, and Office of the Vice President for Students Affairs and Services. Sana po ay wala akong nakalimutan. Ayan. So, yun po. Marahil po ang marami sa atin yung may idea na kung ano ang PSCP. Yung ilan, alam na po. Yung ilan, medyo may konting background.
Ako po yung nadalo ng ating PSCP. Ano po? Nasa Pueblo po nadalo na institutional education.
Pakimute. Sir Lea, pakimute mo na lang siya.
Sir Gino. Pasensya na po.
Okay po.
Sige, tuloy.
Alright. Ayun po. Okay pa. So yun po. Now, to formally welcome us later on discuss the Public Service Continuity Plan, we call on the Director of the Disaster Resilience Institute, Dr. Ferdinand de la Puebla.
Hello, good morning everyone. Yan, so naririnig niyo po ba ako kahit po may thumbs up lang? Yan, okay. So, okay na. So, ayan, no. So, first of all, isa pong malalim na pasasalamat sa bawat isa because our university, being one of the best state universities of our country, ay kailangan gumawa ng isang plan, no? And this plan is very relevant during emergency and also during disasters. But of course, hindi lang dahil doon, but may mga disruptions din, no, that we encounter. Hindi natin alam kung kailan, and we have to be very prepared about all of this. So, just to give you a brief background, no, bago po ako mag-proceed sa aking sandali po kasi sa barangay po namin, pasensya po. Opo, isasara ko po yung bintana kasi po nag-a-announce na po ng mga ayuda. Sandali po, pasensya po.
Hindi po kayo masyado marinig.
Ayan, so maraming salamat, no? So ayan ang mga realidad sa ating buhay. So muli po ako si Ferdy, no, sa Disaster Resilience Institute. So maliban po doon sa sinabi ko a while ago na talagang hindi tayo makakaligtas, I mean hindi tayo we cannot escape, no, from experiencing disruption. So ito man po ay isang emergency or ito man ay isang pandemic. So kailangan natin maging handa sa anumang pwedeng mangyari, no? Especially sa ating university as a whole and syempre sa ating mga mahal na pinaglilingkuran, no? So ang Public Service Continuity Plan po ay na-encounter po namin recently lang, no? So when we started having a partnership, no, which we are planning to formalize in the form of a MOU and MOA with the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management and the Office of Civil Defense National Capital Region. At meron pa pong isa, yung Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation. So ang PTRF po ay isang partner ating ating OCD, no, ng OCD, no, as for in terms of disaster risk reduction and management, no. And fortunately, tayo po ay naka-join sa kanilang orientation at binigyan po tayo ng pagkakataon na makapag-training, no? At nagkataon po na 13 slots lang po na naibigay sa amin, no, sa ating university. But actually, ang binibigay lang po nila sa atin ay 3, no? So ito po ay isang malaking opportunity sa atin at malaking a blessing, no, para sa ating university for us to get to know what is public service continuity plan. Siguro most of you are familiar or naririnig nyo na siguro yung business continuity plan, no? So because we are not profit-oriented, which is focused on profit generation sa mga corporate or private sector, hindi po tayo ganyan, no? So hindi yan ang pinaka-purpose natin. So our main purpose is to provide, of course, the public service, no? So being a state university po, so meron tayong mga mandates, no? So yung mga instruction, research, extension, or public service. So kaya po tayo po ay more of coming up with our public service continuity plan instead po of business continuity plan, which is more focused on profit aspect, no, income generation, etc. etc. At tayo po bilang state university, tayo po ay part ng public sector organization or ng ating gobyerno. So tayo po ay kailangang gumawa ng public service continuity plan dahil po may mga orders na po, no, from the Office of the President, from the Office of Civil Defense, from the Civil Service Commission. So bago po ako mag-start sa what is public service continuity, siguro po bigyan ko lang po kayo ng konting kwento, no, sa aming opisina. Ang Disaster Resilience Center po ay nagsimula, no, nung last year, no, June po siya na-create, no, June 26, 2020, no, at naging institute po siya recently ng first quarter of the year. So naging Disaster Resilience Institute po. So as one of the offices in the Office of the Executive Vice President, we were tasked to come up with a public service continuity plan. So we started from coming up with a business continuity plan, pero hindi po pala ganun kadali at hindi po swak para sa atin ang gumawa ng business continuity plan because we are not a business sector or corporate sector or private sector, no? Tayo ay isang public sector. So dahil po doon, no, naatasan kami at dahil nakita namin from the OEVP sector at from our office, nakita po namin na kailangan pala na ito ay isang trabaho ng buong university. So that's the reason why we requested for list of representatives from all sectors. So alam po namin na sobrang busy po tayo halos kada linggo, no? And especially this week po meron pong institutional accreditation and so on. So napakarami po nating trabaho, no? But talagang kailangan po nating gawin ito as one of our compliance para maipakita natin na tayo po ay isang compliant na state university. So base po sa aming mga pagtatanong-tanong, no, sa aming sa Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation at sa Office of Civil Defense, tanong kami sa kanila, meron na po bang mga state universities na meron ng public service continuity plan? No? Hindi po nila kami nasagot, pero yung una po nilang sagot sa amin ay wala pa. No? At this is going to be our opportunity to come up with our public service continuity plan as a state university focusing, no, on our mandates, no, yung mga mandates natin, paano natin ipagpapatuloy, no, ang ating mga services kapag may mga disruptions, no, ano man po ang disruption na ito, kailangan po natin siyang ituloy at lalong-lalo na kailangan nating ma-satisfy, no, yung ating mga clients, no. So yung public service continuity po ay isang konsepto, no, at ito po ay nagmula sa International Organization for Standardization, ISO, no, 22300, no. This defines public service continuity as the capability of public sector organization. So by the way po, I invited, no, our chair, Professor Alberto Sigilio, our executive vice president, and the chair of the University Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council. Kaya lang talagang nandun po siya sa institutional accreditation at hindi natin siya maririnig sa ngayon, no, kasi talagang siya, multitasking siya, no, at alam ko lahat sa atin dito halos multitasking, no, at kailangan dala-dalawa na yung laptop. So yun po, no, so we invited him to render the opening remarks, no, para naman po tayo ay mas lalong ma-inspire at ma-encourage for us to comply with coming up with public service continuity plan, no. So ito po ay capability, no. Ang PSC po ay capability of a public sector organization to continue the delivery of services at acceptable predefined levels following a disruptive incident. So meron din po itong time element, no, in ensuring recovery of operations, kasi hindi naman po pag biglang naguho ang isang lugar, no, or isang office natin, or biglang may sunog or biglang lumindol at may ganyan, no, na nangyari, na huwag naman sana, no. So paano natin marirecover, no, yung ating mga services that we provide, and these services are, we think, essential or part of our processes, no. Kaya po sa training, when we had our training, we invited people, no, yung key people natin from quality management system, no, sa ating planning, no. At even our Vice President Ana Rubiga Pasin, she was one of the participants, no, na naka-join. So 13 po kami, no, at kasama rin po namin ang mga ibang directors, especially from Institutional Planning, Quality Management System Office, si Sir Tom, sila Ma'am Rayalyn Aranza, no, Director ng ating Internal Audit Office, no, at yung mga people, no, key people from budget, accounting, no, kasi we wanted to at least, no, represent the university ng kahit paano kompleto. So we were happy, we were blessed because we were given 13 slots for that. So dito po sa Public Service Continuity Plan, napaka-importante, no, yung recovery of operations, no, because this is how we show how resilient we are. How can we continue important services? Kaya po ang QMS, meron tayong mga processes dito, no. So ano ba yung mga processes natin na kailangan nating paghandaan, no? So, at kailangan ito ay magawa natin, no? So just to give you legal frameworks, no? So meron tayong Sendai framework, no, for disaster risk reduction from 2015 to 2030, no? So in paragraph 33, priority 4, sabi, it is important to ensure the continuity of operations and planning, including social and economic recovery and the provisions of basic services. Dito po sa basic services na tinutukoy, ito po yung ating public service at ito po yung ating mga key processes, no? So yung mga processes na ating in-enroll sa ISO, no, at kailangan po nating tignan ito, pangalagaan, i-maintain at tignan kung paano natin ma-address yung mga possible risks na meron itong process or processes na meron ng opisina natin that we think are very important to our clientele. Sige po, next. Ayan. So just to give you a certain theory, meron pong tinatawag na the black swan theory, no? So the black swan theory, ito po ay nagsasabi na it is essential in understanding the need for continuity, no? So ito po ay isang metaphor for an event that comes as a surprise. Syempre pag may mga emergency, may mga tawag doon disaster, so hindi naman niya sasabihin, oh, ngayon ang lindol ha, as hindi naman nagsasalita ang mga nang pangyayari, no? So it comes as a surprise. So pag dumating ang mga ito, handa ba tayo, no? Kung may mga major effect, ano ba yung mga major effects nito sa atin, no? And it is often inappropriately rationalized after the fact with the benefit of hindsight. Kaya kailangan handa tayo. Kailangan isipin natin na posibleng mangyari to any time of the day, no? So kailangan nating paghandaan, no? Kailangan magamit natin yung ating hindsight upang makita natin ano ba yung magiging benefit nito in the future if a disruption happens. So the black swan events are typically random po and unexpected. So kaya po sabi ng Civil Service Commission, no, as per Memorandum Circular number 2, state universities and colleges, kasama kayo, no? We are requiring you na gumawa, no? Formulate, develop your public service continuity plan. Sige po, next slide. Yan. Yan. And then, sa ISO po, it further defines, no, public service continuity management. Ito na po yung mas malaki, no? So ito po pumapasok na yung ating mga branches and satellite campuses, no? At pag-isayin po natin ito lahat para magkaroon po tayo ng public service continuity management system, no? So the continuity management is the holistic management process that identifies potential threats, no, to a public sector like our state university, no, and the impacts to operation. Ano yung impact nito sa ating operation pag may mga disruptions na nangyari, no, that those threats might cause, no, which provides also a framework for building organizational resilience. So how resilient PUP is, no, especially at this point in time, kung saan tinutuloy lang natin yung ating mga initial initiatives, no, from our previous presidents at now with our current president Muhi, no. So na kung saan focus niya, no, isa yan sa mga tinututukan at priority ng ating mahal na presidente na maging resilient ang ating university. Next po. Yan. Aside from doon sa ating Senday framework, no, meron din po tayong ASEAN Disaster Recovery Reference Guide at ito po ay nag-acknowledge ng kahalagahan, no, importance of business continuity management in the public sector, no. So that time po hindi pa po public sector or public service continuity plan. So nag-evolve din po ang konsepto, no, and it started from business continuity management, no. Kaya po parang nai-equate natin business continuity management, public service continuity din yan, no. So but ngayon po nag-evolve na po siya at meron na po tayong mga key government agencies who are actually in the lead, no, for enhancing, reminding, no, government instrumentalities and agencies to come up with public service continuity plan. So ito po ay makikita natin na talagang kahalagahan nito later, no. Bakit kailangan ba natin gumawa ng public service continuity plan? Next please. Yan. So what is public service continuity plan? So ito po ay isang document containing strategies and mechanisms of a government agency or public sector organization to ensure continuous delivery of public services amidst any disruption. Yan. Next po. So meron po tayong batas, the Republic Act 10121. This is the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010. No? So it requires a whole of government approach in the Philippine disaster risk reduction, and management system. No? So para magawa po ito, government agencies and public offices should be able, no, to deliver uninterrupted and sustainable initiatives, programs, and services relative to disaster risk reduction and management. Ito pong Public Service Continuity Plan, ito po ay relative to DRRM kasi na pumapasok po dito ang lahat ng disruptions including emergencies or disasters and/or disasters. Next please. Yan. So meron po tayong NDRRMC, National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council Memo number 33, no, series of 2018. So it talks about the provision of a standard template for public service continuity plan. No? For the information of everybody, wag po kayong mag-worry kasi po meron po tayong PSCP guidebook. At meron po kaming soft copy ng PSCP guidebook. Meron din po kaming soft copy ng PSCP Trainees Manual. So kaya ibibigay po namin sa inyo yan so that you would have a better, no, understanding kasi po tayo po ay nasa orientation lang, no? At kami po ay yung 13 po, kami po 13 ng training po kami, no? And we were glad because we have one, no, from Maragondon, no, na naka-join sa amin at nakasama na sila. So sila yung isa sa mga naka-join, no, from the Office of the Vice President for Branches and Satellite Campuses. No? Kaya meron na silang konting advantage, no, para makagawa ng kanilang public service continuity plan specific for their branch. No? So ito po ay gumawa, no, ang National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council together with the Office of Civil Defense, together with the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation. Nakagawa sila ng ganitong manual at ganitong guidebook. Kaya po, pwede po namin ibigay sa inyo yan. And eventually, if you would be needing technical assistance and further dissemination of information pertinent, no, to public service continuity plan, kami po ay nandiyan. No? Bukas po ang DRI at pup.edu.ph, no? Ang Disaster Resilience Institute. Next, please. Yan. So, pakibalik niya, Sir Gino. Yan. So, dahil meron ng pandemic, no, at dumating yung coronavirus, mas lalong kailangan natin paintingin, no. So, dito po sa Memorandum number 57, series of 2020, nag-issue ang NDRRMC na i-update daw po, no, ang Public Service Continuity Plan. Ang question is, meron na po ba tayong PSCP? Wala pa po tayong PSCP, no? Wala pa po tayong Public Service Continuity Plan, and this is one of the steps. This is one of the key steps, no, that we have to undertake for us, for our university, no, to have its own public service continuity plan. Kaya po itong updating ito ay hindi pa po ganun ka-applicable sa atin kasi wala pa po tayong PSCP that we need to update. So dito, in-incorporate sa updating yung arrangements and integrating especially yung mga health risks related kasi ng-pandemic po tayo. Next, please. Yan. So meron din mong sub-task group on governance, no? So under the National Task Force for COVID-19, ito pong task group ensures gradual government restoration towards normalcy, no? Kaya yung new normal that is leading towards normalcy. New normal nga lang po ang tawag, no? Kasi nandito pa rin tayo sa pandemic period, no? Among the targets of the sub-task group is for all national government agencies to develop their respective public service continuity plan. No? Nakakita po ako ng public service continuity plan ng Department of Energy. So meron na po sila. At syempre, iba naman po sila kasi sila po ay NGA, no? Tayo or National Government Agency, tayo po ay State University. Pero hindi pa po nakakita talaga, no, ng Public Service Continuity Plan for a State University. No? At for the information of everybody, meron po tayong UNISDR, no? Yung United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction. No? Ito po ay meron po silang mga activities, meron po silang mga guide, no, na provide para makagawa tayo ng ating sariling public service continuity plan. Tuloy, next. Yan. So, Yeah, yan. For the information of everybody, ang focus po ng Public Service Continuity Plan is more on continual improvement, no, rather than continuous improvement, no, kasi sa continual po ito po ay mas mabilis, no, hindi po incremental, hindi po simple steps, but ito ay mas mabilis yung ating improvement, no, with innovations po na nakasama, no. So it follows the same, no, the PDCA cycle, no, yung plan, do, check, and act, no. So of course, no, ang ating direction from complying with the requirements for continuity, no, that leads us to come up with an output, no, or results, no, like citizen satisfaction, manage continuity of key process operations, no, so that we can satisfy, no, our public, no, sino man yung ating pinaglilingkuran, mga estudyante, empleyado, and other stakeholders of the university. So kasama po sila dyan, no, sa ating tinutukoy na public or stakeholders. And then this is where, no, we establish, no, and then we implement and operate. Kaya po sa establishment, kailangan po meron tayong plan, no, and then we implement and operate the plan, and then we monitor and review the plan. Kamusta ba nung ipinatakbo siya? And then we maintain, no, and improve it if it's necessary, no. At definitely merong mga kailangang i-improve dyan, no, as time goes on and as we test, no, the plan that we are going to develop. Next, please. Yeah. So for the establish, no, or the plan, established continuity policy po, dapat meron tayo niyan. May objectives po. Sa continuity policy po, meron na pong continuity policy na the draft, no, at eventually po may papakita po namin yan, no. Objectives, dapat meron po target, controls, process, procedures relevant to improving continuity in order to deliver results that align with the organization's overall policies and objectives. So implement and operate po, implement po natin ang plan and operate the continuity policy in controls and processes and procedures. So kailangan po natin yung i-implement or execute, no? And then sa monitor and review, we have to monitor and review performance against continuity policy and objectives, no? Nakita ba natin yan? Na-meet ba natin, no? Nasa na po ba tayo, no, sa ating mga ginagawa, no? So this is also looking into the reporting of the results to management for review and determining and authorizing actions, no, for remediation and improvement. So kaya meron po tayong mga corrective actions, no. Dito po natin titingnan at ipapasok paano po natin, ano ba yung mga gagawin natin para mas ma-improve na natin siya, no, which eventually leads us to the act or maintain and improve. So yun po, no. So maintain and improve the public service continuity management system by taking corrective actions based on the results of management repair and reappraising the scope of the PSC management system and continuity policy and objectives. So sa monitor and review, nakuha muna natin yung mga key measures, key findings, no, and then sa maintain and improve, dito na po natin siya i-apply. Next, please. Yan. Meron pong 4 crucial phases, no, yung ating public service continuity plan, no. Meron po tayong phase 1, readiness and preparedness, no. And then dahil meron na tayong readiness and preparedness plan, no, biglang may event or may threat, so this is now the time when we do the activation of the plan, no, and then eventually lead us to phase 3. Dito na natin ipapakita, no, paano natin gagamitin, no, ano yung ginagawa natin, continuity strategies, no, for us to have the continuity operations. And then eventually phase 2 for the reconstitution, no. So titingnan natin ano ba mga dapat i-improve, ano ba yung mga dapat idagdag, ano ba yung mga dapat ang gawin. Next, please. Yeah. So yun po sa phase 1, development, review and revisions of plan, training and drills, testing and exercise, and risk management, no. So ano po yung meron sa atin, yan po, no, yung ating magiging points of reference, no. So an event or threat, no, it's an event takes place or a threat exists which causes disruption to the organization, no? Next, please. For the phase 2 activation, this includes activation of organizational continuity activation plans and all associated procedures to support, no, the continued performance of essential functions. So, yung essential functions po na dapat hindi po mawala, no? At hindi maputol, no? Especially in responding to the needs of our clientele, no? So, this is not yet po, no, the continuity of operations and does not require basic response activity kasi ina-activate mo lang po, tinignan po, ready na ba yan? Ready ba yan? Tingnan natin, ano bang meron tayo, no? So, nakakompleto bang tao dyan? Meron na ba tayong procedures na nakaset dyan, no? So, yun yung mga tinitingnan po natin, no? And activation of the plan po is based on the met criteria. So, yun po yung mga criteria, ano bang meron tayo? Meron na po ba tayo yung naka-in place, etc., no? So, vital functions po are resumed, no, at around 0 to 12 hours. Ito pong vital functions, ito po yung mga essential functions. Pag ito po ay na-disrupt, how long po natin, no, bago natin siya ma-recover yung isang proseso, bago po natin ma-recover yung isang essential process or function. So ito po yung range ng hours, no. Pwede pa po lumampas yan hanggang taon or hanggang months, no. Depende po kung gaano po tayo kabilis ma-recover yung ating mga essential functions or processes, no, within the organization. Next, please. So yung continuity operations po includes activities to continue essential functions, so including communicating with supporting and supported organizations, clientele, and other stakeholders. So meron na po tayong communication na ginagawa, may mga preparatory activities na po tayo na ginagawa na sa tingin natin makakatulong, no, para ituloy natin yung ating continuity strategies para ma-implement natin. So this may also include, no, the full execution of essential operations at alternate operating facilities. Ito pong alternate operating facilities, ito po yung halimbawa po, no, so sana, no, may isang government agency, isa lang yung building nila. So pag nag-uwi yung building nila, wala na po silang relocation site or alternating site, no, or alternate site na kung saan dito nila itutuloy yung kanilang processes, no, yung kanilang essential functions. So pag gumuho yan, wala na kasi isa lang ang building nila. No, pag maraming naapektuhan ng building, saan sila pwede mag-office? So may mga ganun po na dapat pasok sa ating paghahandaan, no? Kung sakaling may mangyaring hindi maganda, no, sa ating mga workplaces, kailangan po natin mapagandaan saan tayo kaya pwede mag-office, no? At syempre, maliban po doon, maliban sa ating struktura na dapat pagandaan, itong mga alternate sites, kailangan tingnan din po natin paano kung yung mga tao po natin ay nadisgrasya. Paano kung nawala sila, no? Sino ang susunod? Sino ang mamamahala? Sino yung papalit sa pwesto or sa posisyon? Kasama po yan sa ating tinatawag na succession plan. So kaya dapat meron pong succession plan ang bawat office, ang buong university para anuman po ang mangyari, sasabihin natin, ang susunod dyan ay si ganito. Siya nang magiging ganito. Sino ang magiging tao natin? So ito na yung susunod na ating tao pag na nagka-problema si sir ganyan or si ma'am ganyan, no? So kaya po kasama po yan sa ating continuity plan. Next please. Yan. So reconstitution po is implemented, no, when the emergency or incident is over. So ito po yung sinasabi kong tapos na, then titingnan na po natin paano natin i-resume yung ating normal operations. So hindi naman po ganun kabilis, no? Talagang may mga time talaga yan, may panahon yan. No? Kaya po may time element po, no, ang paggawa ng public service continuity for us to be able to resume normal operations. Of course, no, as much as we wanted to return, no, or recover, no, from a certain disruptions, no, that impacted or affected our offices or branches or satellite campuses, talagang kailangan natin, no, gusto natin i-resume yan. At we have to do it as fast as we can, no. So may mga kailangan po tayong preparations na gawin, no. At dito po natin may papakita kung gaano tayo kabilis, no, to bring back the operations. Kaya po yung recovery and rehabilitation, meron po tayong build back better principle, no, na na-apply din po natin sa disaster rehabilitation and recovery. So the operations at the alternate facility are terminated and all functions are resumed, no? Pag nag-reconstitute na po tayo, no, at na-resume na po na natin normal operations, kung pumunta ka sa Clark kasi nandun yung inyong alternate facility from Manila, naapektuhan yung office nyo rito at naayos natin, babalik na tayo dito sa ating original office kung naayos na at pwede na po tayo mag-operate. No? Kaya importante rin po na meron tayong alternate facility. Next, please. Yan. So, sa references po, no, for Public Service Continuity Plan, we've discussed to you the SENDE framework for disaster risk reduction, yung ASEAN Disaster Recovery Reference Guide, in the Republic Act 10121, or the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010, no, and the RRFG Memo number 33, Cabinet Action Decision, meron po tayong Cabinet Action Decision telling, no, all government agencies, instrumentalities, including state universities and campuses, no, to come up with its or formulate or develop its public service continuity plan, no, and this could also be supported by NDRR's MC Memo 57, Sub-Task Group on Governance. So marami po tayong references and these are all imperatives, no, for us to comply and come up, no, with our public service continuity plan. At dahil ang PUP po ay una sa paghahanda, ng pamantasang una sa paghahanda, we are hoping na sana isa po tayo sa mga mauuna na magkakaroon ng public service continuity. Next, please. So ano po ba yung importance ng PSCP? No? Alam naman natin, marami pong klase ng disruptions. No? At dahil dito, kailangan po talaga natin gumawa at magkaroon ng public service continuity plan which we need to activate as time warrants, no, or as the situation warrants, no. So ito yung importance niya, ensure, no, continued performance of essential functions, resume delivery of vital, no, or essential services to public or key clientele, minimize damage and loss to critical processes. Kasi po pag meron tayong preparations, no, may mga naka-set up na tayong plan at yung mga procedures na naka-set up na, definitely po, mami-minimize po natin ang damages and losses, no, to our critical processes. Kasi meron na po tayong naka-ready na backup plan. So, kasama po yung mga backup plans natin and all other plans that we think are critical and should be integrated into the public service continuity plan. Ito po ay malaki ang maitutulong para magawa natin ang pag-minimize ng damages and losses. So, and number 4, reduce or mitigate disruptions, pakibalik, to operations. Siyempre yan po ang talagang isa sa major purpose ng public service continuity plan para ma-reduce and mitigate disruptions to operations. Aside, of course, from the continuation, no, of the performance of essential functions. And then number 5 is ensure, no, succession if agency leadership is disrupted. Yun po, so kailangan po natin, no, ang ating Human Resource Development Management, HRMD, Management Development, support us para makakam up din ng succession, no, if agent needed, if we need their technical assistance for us to come up with the succession plan, sino ba ang susunod sa akin, sino ba yung pwede nating ipapalit dito kung sakali may mangyaring hindi maganda sa ating tao, no, or sa ating mga tao. So meron po tayong succession plan, no, na in place. And then the last is maintain a test, training, and exercise program. So ito mga test training, exercise programs, ito po ay part ng ating capability building strategies. Next, please. Yan. Okay. For the ensuring, no, for ensuring continued performance of essential functions, all agencies, no, sabi, should practice continuity planning. Kaya po tayo ay nag-orient kasi eventually po gagawa na po tayo ng sarili natin plan, no? So, and essential functions po ay refer to the most critical and important roles or functions of an agency relevant po to their mandates. So ito po ay yung essential functions po natin, no? So sa isang state university, kadalasan po ang mga major ang mandates po natin, di ba? Instruction, research, extension works, and or public services, no, that we do, no? So yun po yung mga kadalasan, no, na mandates ng isang state university or siguro ng kahit anong academic institution. So, and then time and order recovery are necessary also to ensure relevance to the need of that function and quality of service. Kaya po meron po tayong recovery, no? May recovery time tayo, gano'n natin katagal marirecover ito. So, mabilis ba, mabagal ba, matagal ba? No? So, at ano ba yung dapat natin gawin para ma-recover natin ito? No? At ano ba yung mga dapat natin gawin na paghandaan para pag ito ay naapektuhan, maitutuloy pa rin po natin. No? At yung recovery is really talking about how long, no, you can recover from the disrupted processes. No? Kung ito man ay naapektuhan. Paano natin ma-recover siya para makapag-provide pa rin tayo ng quality service. Next, please. Resume delivery of vital services to public, all agencies who practice continuity planning then, no, for our vital services, especially to the general public, no, is resume. And government agencies, the general publics are everybody, is our everyday customers. No? So it cannot be afforded to have a gap in the delivery of such services. Kaya gusto natin yung service natin. Kaya nakakatuwa dahil ang ating universities ay napakarami ng initiatives, especially online, no? Online classes, online activities, marami na rin tayo, no? Online or not online, no? Marami po tayong mga ginagawang processes, no? To expedite and to be able to deliver the necessary services to our clientele. At syempre, no? Number one, no? Based sa ating global safety framework ng United Nations, yung ating mga estudyante. No? Yan, yung ating mga pinangangalagaan kasi hindi naman po mag-exist ang isang academic institution kung wala siyang customer. No? At napaka-importanting customer natin ang ating mga estudyante. Next, please. Minimize damage and loss to critical processes, no? So all agencies, no, should do continuity plan to minimize damage and losses. And then aside from the essential functions po, the facilities and resources that support the performance of your essential functions are also secured from the threats, no? So hindi lang po yung process or yung function. Siyempre tinitingnan din po natin pag ginawa po natin ang isang process, ano ba yung mga required facilities or resources nito? No? So dapat tingnan din natin paano natin siya pangangalagaan at protektahan, no? Para ito ay maging resilient sa anumang disruptions. No? So hindi man siya naging ganun kasobrang resilient or ganun ka-resilient, at least kahit paano hindi siya masyadong naapektuhan na kung saan matagal ang ating recovery ng mga ito. Next, please. Reduce or mitigate disruptions to operations. Sabi, all agencies practice continuity planning to reduce or mitigate disruptions to organizations. So every government agency can still perform their mandated, no, or its mandated roles even amidst disruption. So dapat, no, kaya tayo as a state university, tuloy pa rin, no, tuloy pa rin ang pagbibigay ng ating public service. Kaya public service continuity plan. Tuloy, please. Next. Ensure succession, yun po yung kailangan natin pag magiging problema sa ating agency leadership, no? This pertains po to the designation of an alternate representative. Kaya po kami, isa po sa aming provide na template, no, as we release the DRI memo number 5, we requested for your alternate representative, no, para po kung sobrang busy yung ating primary or main representative or principal representative for the writing, no, or for the development or enhancement, no, of our university's public service continuity plan, meron pong attend at a-attend. Makakasama natin as part of the writing group for the development and finalization of our public service continuity plan. So ganun din po yung sinasabi ng ating sinasabing ensure succession, no? But syempre ayaw natin mawala yung ating mga kapartner, no? So alternate representative would also be great help for us to support the development of such plan. No? So the order of succession will also allow continuity of leadership roles. Tama po yan. No? So by having backup leadership positions. Next, please. Maintain a test, training, and exercise program. So ito po ay living document of strategies that must be constantly updated depending on the current processes and mandate of the agency. No? So to be able to achieve this, all government agencies should conduct the appropriate tests, training, and exercise programs to improve the continuity strategies. No? Kaya po ang Disaster Resilience Institute, open po kami para matulungan po kayo. No? So tayo po ay magtutulungan dahil tayo po ay nasa iisang pamilya, no? Iisang university na kung saan we'd like to achieve ano bang goals ng ating current administration, ng ating President Muhi, ano bang goals natin, ang pillars ng ating ginagawa, no? At ito ay dapat nating ma-achieve. No? At hopefully, sabi po ng Civil Service Commission, no, before, no, sabi na we'd like to request your Pscp dapat March, no? But they have already extended the deadline until October 2021. So 2021 lang din po sila nag-request ng submission to the Office of Civil Defense, no, through their CSC Memo Circular number 2 series of 2021. So kaya sabi nila mukhang hindi pa handa ang lahat, so they have extended it up to October this year. Next, please. So, ito po yung mga PSCP outputs needed. So, meron po na kaming nagawa ng continuity policy statement. No? Papakita po namin yan. So, ito po yung mga tasks, no? Yung mga assignment na dapat nating matapos. No? So, ito po yung gagawin. Yung continuity policy statement, risk assessment, establishing mission essential functions or yung mga MEFs. No? So ito pong MEFs, ito yung talagang tinututukan natin kasi ito yung talagang super halaga. So mission kasi nandito po yung ating mga core functions. Kaya po mission siya. Essential kasi po hindi po talaga dapat siyang mawala at ito yung mga importante. No? Importanteng services na dapat mabigyan ng continuity strategies, no? Para magtuloy siya if there is any disruption that may happen into it. No? And then meron ding impact analysis, may continuity strategies, yung impact analysis, no? Kasama din po yan, no? At yung continuity strategies, then exercise ng plan and action plan, kung ano yung mga pwede nating strategies na gawin, no? Kung meron tayong mga capability building, no? May mga drills pa tayong ginagawa. So kasama po yan sa task number 6, no? And then sa task number 7 or assignment number 7, action planning po ito. Ito ay kung paano po natin i-roll out yung ating mga gagawin pertinent to our public service continuity plan development. Next, please. Next, yan. So sa ating pong task 1, no, yung public service, yung continuity policy statement, ito po yung na-draft ng aming university, no, ng ating university, no, as one of the outputs ng aming group, no, when we attended the training. So ito po yung na-develop namin, and syempre ito po ay subject to all your brilliant suggestions. So ipapakita po natin yan, and eventually kasama po yan isa sa mga portions na isa-submit at ipe-present po ng ating ayan po, PUP, yan, Sir Malasike, yan, ang ating PUP Continuity Core Team, kasama po yan sa ipe-present natin sa Executive Committee. Next, please. Yan. So risk assessment po, ito po ay it explains the basic terms and concepts involved in risk assessment. No? Identify the process of conducting a risk assessment, determine the components of risk register, and explain the risk treatment options. Yan. Sir Gino, excuse me po, no? Sir Gino, parang yung last na PowerPoint na binigay ko sa iyo, yun yung gagamitin natin. Hindi iyan. No? Yung last na PowerPoint na bisinend ko sa iyo. Pasensya po ha. So yan. May mga questions po ba while we're fixing the PowerPoint para po i-provide yung mas late na revisions ng PowerPoint? Do you have questions po? Sige, tingnan po. Sir, pwede po ako makahingi ng copy ng presentation? Opo, huwag po kayo mag-alala. No? So lahat po kayo ay bibigyan namin ng trainees manual, ng public service. Yes, as Ma'am Pasumbal, Doc Pasumbal, may tanong si Ma'am. Hi, Ma'am.
Ako, good morning po.
Opo, Ma'am, loud and clear.
Maraming salamat po sa invite sa graduate school on behalf of our Dean Dong Step. I was requested to attend this meeting on behalf of him. So last night po we were talking about this, and we were talking about yung the title of the training or orientation, ganyan. So ang naisip lang po namin, we call this disaster resilience, right? So
part po siya.
Part po. So nakita po namin yung in your talk po, narinig ko naman yung coordination with OCD, ganyan. So we're getting the impression that disaster is strongly anchored on natural disaster. Pero we strongly suggest po that maybe we should explicate on the term disaster, kasi po we know very well that people have to be resilient, not just on when natural disaster comes, no? So yung the disaster po doon very important sana na ma-define na may iba't ibang klase ng may iba't ibang pwedeng consider na disaster for people to be resilient on. So for example, nabanggit niyo po kanina yung health, no? We could talk about, the economic situation of people. Yung mga ganun po, yung pagiging resilient. So, sir, strongly suggested po that we explicate on the term disaster, not just not just referring to natural disaster, unless po na talagang natural disaster lang ang ibig nating sabihin. So we be clear about it. Pero however, kung hindi naman po natural disaster lang, then mas maganda na ma-address din natin yung ibang klase ng mga disaster na maaaring kinakaharap ng mga Pilipino ngayon sa mga susunod at mga susunod na panahon. Yan lang naman po.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, madidiscuss po yan sa susunod na mga slides. So we will be showing to you the types of hazards, no? So may mga hazards tayo, and lahat po ng concern and possible disruptions to a certain organization or institution, makikita po natin doon. So part po yan ng presentation. Thank you, ma'am, no?
Okay,
but I will further explicate kasi the slide is there, no? For us to identify specifically, no, ano po yung mga bawat specific examples for each type of hazard that we will be presenting. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you po.
Apo. Sige po. Sir Gino, ready na ba? Do you recommend to representative with bid and alternate from each office? Yun po ang isa sa mga part ng aming quote-unquote succession plan. So yun po ay kailangan nating tignan at yan. Sir Gino, pakibalik mo nga bago tayo pumunta sa step 1. Sige, next. Okay. Yan, no? So sige, dito na po tayo mag-i-start, no? So meron po tayong step 1, which is actually part of the task 1, no? So, or task 2. Yung task 2 po kasi, ito po yung hazards, yung identification ng risk, no? So hazard and risk identification. Ito po yung sinasabi na ng ating dean, no, former dean, at ito po yung hazard and risk identification. So we have different types of hazards, no, natural, human, and those technological and biological hazards. Sa natural po, meron po tayong hydrometeorological. Ito po ay mga tropical cyclones, storm surges, heavy rainfall, and flooding, no. Sa geophysical, no, under the natural hazard, meron po tayong earthquakes, landslides, volcanic activity, tsunami. And then for the human induced, ito po yung terrorist event, industrial accidents like fire, etc. No? Transport accidents, so yun po yung mga human induced. For the technological, meron po tayong cybersecurity breaches affecting critical infra ng ating ICT na kung saan pwede rin pong maging types of hazard. And then we also have biological like epidemics, no, and other health-related emergencies, no. Yan po. Sige po, no. So we'll address further, no, yung ating pong mga questions. Tatapusin lang po natin yung ating mga presentation, no. Siguro we'll try to finish it until 11:15. Sige po, next slide please. So yung risk analysis po establishes the basis for risk evaluation, no? At risk analysis can be quantitative or qualitative po, no? And it also helps determine the magnitude of a risk or combination of risks expressed in terms of the combination of consequences and their likelihood. It also provides the basis for risk evaluation and decisions for the risk treatment. So may mga risk treatment options. Next please. Yan. So ito po yung quantitative risk analysis. Napinicturean ko na lang po, no? Ito po yung mga guide. We will also provide this to you. Next please. Meron din pong rating, no? At yung descriptor definition, specifically from 5 down to 1. Ito po yung mga descriptor niya and yung mga definitions that we can also refer to. Next please. And then yung threat, kung for example, may tropical cyclone, heavy rainfall, ano ba yung risk? Denial of access to office building, critical function, ano yung likelihood niya, mataas ba? 4 ba? 5 ba? No? And then ano yung impact niya? 4. So and then we multiply, then that's the time we come up with the risk rating. So 4 times 4, 60. Next please. Meron din tayong tinatawag po na risk heat map, no? So yung mga pula po, yan po yung mga critical talaga na kailangan po nating tukukan ng maigi, no? This is in the based on the impact and livelihood, no? And then we also have qualitative risk analysis, no? So may threat na nakalagay, ano yung risk classification niya, which we have provided a while ago. And then lalagyan po natin ng X kung saan siya mag-fall, no? In terms of impact. Next please. Then may risk rating din, no? Ito yung makikita natin, color-coded siya. So doon natin makikita yung risk heat map natin, no? So risk level, meron ding risk treatment options. Ano ba 'tong mga risk treatment options? Ito po yung mga anong gagawin natin dito sa risk na ito, no? So how do we treat these risks? Are we going to avoid risk avoidance ba? Sige, next slide. Risk avoidance ba? Risk elimination? Risk control ba? Risk transfer? Transfer natin yung risk. Risk acceptance or risk assumption? Risk financing, no? So ito pong risk avoidance, ito pong eliminating the source of your risk. Halimbawa, implementation of no-build zone. So na-avoid mo na kasi hindi na sila nag-build dun sa zone na yun, no? Risk control, no? Reducing and managing the risk to within acceptable levels. Ito po yung mga prevention, preparedness, mitigation, response, and continuity strategies that we do. And then risk transfer, pwede po natin i-share yung risk. Halimbawa, meron po tayong third party, kayo nang mag-manage niyan. No? Hindi na namin kaya yan, kayo mag-manage. Or you want to procure consultancy services. No? So, relevant to RA 9184. No? And then risk acceptance or risk assumption, meron pong organization is determined that the risk is not sufficient to warrant additional controls or it is impossible to eliminate the risk. Kasi nandun na. Hindi ka na makaano kasi nandun na yung wala ka nang magawa. All you have to do is to accept, no? Kaya kailangan mo pa rin i-address how are you going to mitigate or reduce the risk, no? And then risk financing is also a form of self-insurance. So meron ba kayong perang natatabi? May funds ba? Meron ba tayong nakalagay dyan, no? Kung may emergency fund ba, ito ay pwede natin gamitin, no? That could also be part of risk financing. Okay? So may pasensya na po, medyo binibilisan ko lang po at hanggang 11:30 lang po tayo. So we have risk treatment options. Ito po yung impact versus the likelihood. So anong gagawin natin? Kung saan siya magpo-fall na quadrant. So transfer, avoid, accept, and control. No? We will also provide that to you. Next please. So risk assessment sheet, Sir Gino, pakita mo lang yung task 2 na binigay ko sa iyo na task 2. Ibang file siya. So, stop the sharing. Hindi yan. Stop the sharing, yung task 2 na pinakita ko sa iyo. It's the same picture with the tawag doon, para po siyang risk register. So our university is maintaining a risk register. So and each office, no, meron po tayong risk register. So gagawin po natin siyang reference, no, for us to complete the task 2. Okay. Sir Gino? Yan, no? So yan, pakibaba. So may mga definitions dyan to be provided, and then pakibaba para dun sa sample na risk assessment. No? So ito po yung risk assessment form. Mapapalakihan mo pa ba yan? So meron po tayong dito, pasok dito yung sinasabi natin hazard, no? And risk identification stage, wherein we identify ano yung threat, ito ba ay human-induced, natural, ano yung risk. Tinitingnan po natin dito yung categorization ng risk, no? Kung kanino po siya makaka-apekto, no? Like sa people ba, sa facility, sa public ba, sa process, sa supply chain, or sa ICT, no? And then we have the likelihood, no? From 1 to 5, then the impact from 1 to 5, the risk score, no? To yung very low, then to the very high, and then we also have current control measures in place. Ano ba yung mga control measures that we want to put in place, and then kamusta ba ito, effective ba ito, no? So part of assessment, meron po tayong rating dyan, and then what are further risk mitigation measures or mitigating measures? Ito po yung additional or other actions that we need to do to further address, no, the risks that is going to be affected or that's going to affect our process or essential function. Sige, Sir Gino, let's go back to the PowerPoint again. Stop sharing. Yan. Yan. So, may mga tanong. Nakapag-basic DRRM orientation na po ba ang lahat? Yan po. Malamang po, tayo po ay na-provide ng basic DRRM orientation. Ito po ay na-provide na. No? So, based din po sa ating types of hazards. No? Hindi po lahat pang disaster at hindi po lahat pang emergency. No? Meron po tayong mga human-induced, may biological, no? Meron din po tayong technological. So, ang dami pong type of hazards that we need to prepare for kasi po hindi lang po pang emergency, hindi lang po pang disaster. No? So, marami pong functions. Even fire, even mga cybersecurity threats, no? Mga ganyan. Marami po. At pag nakita nyo mo, as what I have discussed, nakita nyo naman po, marami pong type of hazards and we have to prepare for all of them. So for the task 3, this is the establishment of mission essential functions. No? Ano po ba yung essential function versus non-essential? No? So ito po, yung essential po, ito po yung critical activities performed by the organization, especially after a disruption of normal activities. Yung essential po, ito rin po ay talking of the goal of the continuity of operations is the continuation of essential functions. No? So non-essential, not required po ito during disaster events. No? So kaya po yung essential, ito po yung critical, ito po yung mga core functions. Yan, no? So required po ba each office, no, PUP to have this? Opo, required po each office. Kasi po ito po ay dahil kayo po, lalo na kung meron po kayong process enrolled, no, sa ating ISO, kailangan po natin. At sa tingin natin, essential po ito or non-essential, pwede po natin yung ilagay, no, sa ating mga magiging templates. Don't worry po, they'll be provided with templates. No? So the second important thing for you to complete, no, the task eventually, yung mission versus non-mission. Yung non-mission po, ito yung mga support activity or ito po yung mga tinatawag natin support functions. Di ba po sa atin pong OPCR, IPCR, meron po tayong core functions, meron po tayong support functions. Ito po yun. Yung mission, no? Yung essential, ito po yung essential, ito po yung ating mga core functions. Yung mission, ito po yung mandates mismo, no? Ano ba yung core functions or services din, no? Delivered to the public or other organizations according to the mandate, no? Kaya core functions din siya. For example, frontline services. Ano ba to? No? Ito yung mga core functions. Meron ba tayong mga ganito na importante na hindi dapat mawala, no? Especially to our students or graduates, na mga ating mga former graduates, no? Na kailangan tuloy-tuloy yan. Sa non-mission, as I've said, ito po yung mga support functions natin. No? For example, yung general services, yung HR services, yung legal services, no? and other services that support our mission or essential functions. Next, please. Yan. Meron po tayong function categorization table, no? So, tinatapat-tapat lang yan, no? Ang quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Dito po sa ating form, makikita po natin paano siya ginagawa. Next, please. Yan. Ito po yung sample, no, ng function categorization table. So, may mission ka, no, and ano yung essential functions. So, ito po yung serve as secretariat to the DRRM Council, disseminate information and raise public awareness, respond to and manage adverse events, no, or emergencies. Yung mga non-essential functions siya, during emergency, management of risk, maintenance of risk, conduct, etc. No? For the upper part, no, ito po yung mga how to mission essential function, ito po yung respond to emergency, fire, department, cost, etc. For the non-essential, ito po yung provide community fire prevention and essential. So, importante po, naintindihan po natin ang mission for functions po, no? Yung non-mission, ito yung mga support functions. Essentials, ito po yung mga critical na hindi dapat mawala. No? Next, please. So, ito po yung examples niya. No? Meron pong identification, no? Organization functions. Ito po yung mga key functions na nakikita natin. And then, ano po yung mga functional requirements niya. No? So, Gino, mapapalakihan mo pa ba yan? Ano yung mga key? No? Ano may functional requirements niya? No? Ano yung kailangan natin dito sa organizational function na ito na in-identify natin? Kailangan ba ng instructional materials, department exams, course outlines, etc. No? So, mission or non-mission ba ito? Non-mission. Kung essential or essential ba yan? Non-essential. Lalagay po natin kung essential or non-essential. And then, sa function categorization, meron tayong quadrant 1 to 4. Then, kukopyahin lang po natin na kung quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4, saan po siyang quadrant magpo-fall. Then, lalagay po natin kung ano yung category niya. Kung quadrant 4, ito ba ay deferrable supporting activity, ito ba ay essential supporting activity, etc. No? Next, please. Yeah. Kaya dito po, nakikita po nyo yung mission essential functions. Kung ito ay nag-fall sa mission, okay po yan. No? At kung ito po ay nag-fall sa essential, so magiging mission essential function yung, organizational function na ito. Yan. And then, meron din pong impact analysis. No? So, halimbawa po, yung extension services. Kasi po, ito ay mission essential function nag-fall doon sa ating previous na table. No? So, ano po yung mga output na pinoproduce ng extension services natin? Ito po, may extension programs, may projects, activities. Ano po yung mga input na kailangan natin para mag-produce po natin yung output? No? So, sa template po na binigay nila, nauna po yung output bago yung input. So, ano po yung input? Dito po sa third column, ito po yung mga references at kailangan natin magawa at makuha para ma-produce natin yung MEF output. The MEF, as I've said, is the mission essential function. No? And then, ano yung impact to organization if not performed? Meron po tayong categorization like reputational ba yan, operational ba yan, financial. Para po sa ating risk register, may mga types of risks po tayo. No? So, ito po yung reputational, operational, financial, meron pa nga tayong compliance, diba? So, or regulatory, no? Ito po yung mga ating ilalagay. No? So, decrease ba yung credibility and trust of beneficiaries to universities? Pag operational, hindi ba na-achieve yung target rendering ng PUP eligible for the grant of PBB? Sa financial, hindi nagamit yung budget. So, ito po yung mga impacts. And then, paano po natin i-recovery? So, may mga tiers po tayo. Tiers 1 to 5. Yung 1 po must be performed within 0 to 12. No? And then, yung recovery time objective ng number 5 can be performed from 72 hours and beyond. Ito po yung kaninang sinasabi natin, yung recovery time. Gano'n natin ma-recover. So, tulad nito, tier 5 siya nag-fall. So, can be performed from 27 hours and beyond. So after ma-disrupt siya, ma-recover siya, at saka lang siya uli magagawa at tatakbo yung ating process na ito from 72 hours, after 71 hours. Doon na tayo makakapagsimula, ma-recover to. And then meron po tayong resource requirements, Sir Gino, doon sa last, no? Sa left, sa resource requirement, yan. Yan po. Sa resource requirement, meron po tayong nilalagay dyan. Ilan po yung tao na kailangan natin, no? Para ma-recover po yung process. No? Anong facility or equipment na kailangan? Ano yung communication or ICT requirement, no? Para ma-recover. So na-specify po natin yan. At yan po ay dapat, no, kumpleto at medyo detalyado po, no? Kasi po para alam natin kung ano po yung mga kakailanganin natin para ito ay ma-recover. Of course po, meron po yung mga financial implications. Okay, next. Yan, siguro last 5 minutes na lang, no? So ito po yung isa, no? Ito po yung pinakamahalaga. In developing continuity strategies, continuity resources to recover critical activities, ito po yung people, building facility or facility, technology, supply chain needs, customers, stakeholders. Ito po yung kasama na kailangan natin ilagay. No? Kaya ang tawag ko sa kanila, continuity resources to recover critical activities. So ano po ba yung mga public service continuity strategy options? Dito po sa public service continuity strategy options, ito po ay dinivide natin into 3. No? Yung before disruption, during disruption, tsaka after disruption. So for the vital records, halimbawa po ano yung ating mga, hindi po natin ito na i-categorize na, no? Just to give you vital records, but we will provide you an example. No? So for the vital records, ito yung mga kadalasan ginagawa natin as part of the continuity strategies. Ensure backup copies of vital records. Ensure backup copies are duplicated and stored off-site. Off-site po, ibig sabihin, in-store sa ibang facility. No? Para kung nagkaroon ng sunog yung ating office or biglang terrorist attack, pinasabog or whatever, no? So ito po ay merong kinalagyan, meron tayong backup file, may stored offsite file, no? And then work in progress or documents not yet copied and sent offsite should be placed in locked, fire-resistant cabinets. And then consider commercial record storage companies, no? Meron po mga ganyan, no? Nagre-rent sila ng place like the Philippine Disaster Resilience Foundation, meron po silang nire-rent na site, na off-site nila sa Clark, no? At kung ano pong mangyari sa office nila dito sa Makati, makakontinue po nila yung kanilang mga ginagawa kasi meron po silang off-site alternate site, no? At nandun nakastore yung kanilang mga documents, no? Vital records. Next, please. Meron din pong, next, hindi, pakibalik, Gino. Yan, accounting, finance, payroll, no? Increase amount of petty cash held in reserve, maintain contact with banking and financial institutions and regulatory agencies, streamline approval for funding requests and expense reimbursement, develop manual work-around procedures. For the facility and building aspect, we can install backup generator, enter into a service level agreement, maintain listings of alternate sites or temporary workspace. No? Next. For people, so pwede po natin gawin to, no, as part of public service continuity strategy, transfer staff and work to a surviving site, suspend operations that are not time sensitive, build dedicated alternate sites, have staff work from home, consider employee assistance benefits, pre-qualify contractors, ensure clear lines of succession, must be written into the plan, develop strategies for employees displaced by a disaster. Next please. Yan. Ito po yung sample ng continuity strategies based doon po sa ating MEFs. Alam po natin ang MEFs, ito yung mission essential functions. So ano po yung before, during, and after. Kaya if you look at the second column under the vital records, meron po tayong before. O, ginagawa nila, nag-digitize ang vital documents, no? Nagsisecure ng hard copies of vital records, etc. No? So during, merong access available, digitized vital communication documents, access cloud stored communication documents, pag biglang nangyari na, no? And then yung after po sa baba, meron po tayong pakibaba. Yan, Sir Gino. Yan. Continue digitization of remaining vital communication records. Pag hindi natin na-digitize, no? At nakita natin, ako, dapat pala na-digitize natin to. Ngayon, gawin na natin to. Total, kakatapos lang ng isang disruption, no? So, gawin na natin, tapusin na natin ang pag-digitize. Ito po yung after aspect. Then, we also have, no, different sa taas. Meron tayo for people, meron din tayo for facilities and equipment, meron din tayo for communication and technology. So, kaya po yung ating continuity strategies ay nakadesign po for the before, during, and after per specific MEF sa 4 na kategorya, no? Yung vital records, people, ano yun, Sir Gino, sa taas, facilities/equipment, tsaka po yung communication and technological aspect of our continuity strategies. Next, please. Yan, malapit na po tayong matapos. Pasensya na po. Next slide, please. So, ito naman pong task 6. Ito po yung exercise plan and action plan, no? Ito po yung mga gagawin natin. So, paki-highlight yung exercise methods. Dito po may exercise method tayo, may participants, may exercise objectives, may schedule, no? Na ating gagawin. So, seminar orientation ng PUP on PSCP, Basic Incident Command System Training, pakibaba. Meron po tayong mga drills, no? Exercise, communication drill, implementation of the PUP call 3. Pag inactivate, sino yung unang tatawagan, sino yung unang i-inform, may functional exercise on the operationalization of the primary site. Kung meron po tayong, yung primary site po natin mismo, no? Yun po yung ating primary site, yung offices po natin. No, meron ba tayong functional exercise dito? Yung mga officials ba natin, faculty and admin and employees, no? Sila ba ay nag-drills, no? Then, paki-taas pa po. Yan. Then, we also look into the participants that we need exercise objectives for us to do this. And then, kailan natin siya gagawin, no? Yung schedule. Sige. After the schedule ba, meron pa? Wala na. Yan. So, indicate target date to conduct the exercise. So, meron pong mga specific exercise. No? So, kailan po? Halimbawa, October, sino po participant, sino ba yung batch 1, batch 2, batch 3, etc., etc. So, we have to specify all of them in this exercise plan. Next slide po. Yan po ay action plan. Ito po yung gagawin, no? Ito po i-finalize. Currently, mga nagagawa na rin po yung other parts nito kasi meron na pong temporary po na PSCP Continuity Core Team which eventually would lead us to the next steps, no? Sir Gino, yung last, specifically the organizational structure and the next steps. Yan, okay. So nakapag-basic DRRM na ba po bang lahat? Yan po. So yung I'm sure po, no, because we provided invitation on DRRM webinars, no, since last year pa po and until now, no, and we have regular national simultaneous earthquake drill, no, as per National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council in Office of Civil Defense. Marami tayong mga exercises and earthquake drills, no, at may mga webinars din po for different thematic areas of disaster risk reduction and management. So ito po yung proposed, no, ng based on the trainees manual and on the PSCP guidebook produced by lead agencies, no, of the government. This is the structure of the PUP Continuity Core Team. Meron po tayong nakalagay dyan yung elected official or head of agency na siya yung dapat nandiyan dyan. Sino yung senior leader? So hindi pa po namin nilalagyan yan. No? Sino po yung continuity managers natin? At sino po yung continuity coordinator? So nakikita lang po namin sa amin sa Disaster Resilience Institute, parang kami po yung continuity coordinator. Though they have already suggested na kami to yung continuity managers, but we think now we are more of continuity coordination because the Disaster Resilience Institute is an attached to the University Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, doing the secretariat, no, in the overall coordination of the 4 thematic groups, no, under the University Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council. At meron na pong bagong special order for this na kung saan nakasubdivide na po ang mga members ng committee or committee members under each thematic group of the university. No? So dito po rin po, under the continuity managers, meron po tayong continuity planning team or meron tayong continuity working group. No? At ito po ang mga taong, mga bayani na sama-sama tayong magsisikap upang matapos natin ang ating public service continuity plan for our sintang paaralan. No? And then, last 1 minute, people involved, ito po, no? And then for the timetable po, meron po tayong request for special order. No? The reason why we ask for the list of representatives per sector po is para po kompleto po. Kasi po nung tinitingnan po namin, hindi pala namin kaya kasi isang process pa lang nga po kami. No? At in-enroll pa lang po namin yung process namin sa Disaster Resilience Institute. At nakita namin, oh my gosh, ang dami palang processes talaga ng university. And this should be a collective output, no? Through the collective effort of the university to come up with our public service continuity plan. So hindi po namin kaya, no? Wala po kaming monopoly ng husay at karanasan, no? Kaya kailangan po namin ang lahat ng sektor ng ating university para magawa po natin ito. So sama-sama po tayo. Alam ko po na meron na po tayong mga existing na mga continuity strategies, may mga existing na po tayong risk registers, at i-classify na lang po natin sila under mission and non-mission, under essential and non-essential. No? As far as I know, ang OVP SAS, no, meron na silang continuity strategies, no, na online and offline, which they have already complied, no, as far siguro, no, with the CHED, kasi ang CHED po ay nag-request na rin ng mga ganitong continuity strategies, no, if members of the OVP SAS would also agree with me, no, kaya po nanghihingi rin po kami sa kanila eventually ng mga continuity strategies which would be part of the consolidation. No? So dito po, pag nagka-special order na, kasabay po ng pag-i-issue ng special order and request ng special order for our PUP, Public Service Continuity Core Team, magre-review na po tayo ng respective risk registers, no, from 19 to 25 ng August, and then mag-identify ng mission, essential and functions na rin po from the same period, August 19 to 25, and then mag-develop na rin po ng continuity strategies from the same period, 19 to 25. Ang tanong po, bakit po kaya 19 to 25? Kasi po, nire-require na po ng ating chair, no, ng UDRRMC na dapat matapos po natin ito by first week ng September, and isa pong malaking task is ma-consolidate po ang lahat ng ito, no, from tasks 5 to tasks 2 to 5, no, para po makapag-present po sa Executive Committee, Finance Committee, and then to be approved by the Board of Regents, hopefully po bago po bago po mag-Board of Regents meeting ng September, no? At pag meron na po tayo, at least we can comply kasi isa po ito sa annual observation audit, no, audit observation ng COA na hinahanapan na po tayo ng public service continuity plan, no? At dapat po ito po yung comply natin August, no? But we are, as far as I know, ang internal audit natin together with our institutional accreditation group, no, for compliance with the AOM, no, findings ng COA, is working on this, no, together with us as part, no, of the group. No? Kaya po ito po ay documented, recorded, no, kasi po isasama po namin itong mga documentations as evidences that we are actually doing the PSCP processes, no, to come up with our very important output which the president is which our beloved president is expecting from all of us, no. Ito po yung ating PUP Public Service Continuity Plan. Integrated po ang ating mga plans coming from branches and satellite campuses. So with that, I think that's the end of my slide. Meron pa bang slide yan na susunod? Sir Gino?
Wala na, sir.
Yan, thank you very much. Pasensya na po. At kung may tanong po kayo, sige, sasagutin po natin ng mabilis kasi po it's already almost 11:30 and we are so sorry, no, for medyo mabilis lang po at talagang kailangan po namin maipaliwanag sa inyo at I hope we can entertain, no, more questions. So thank you very much. May tanong po ba? Pwede po tayo magtanong ngayon. Sige po, meron pa po tayong 2 minutes bago po mag 11:30. No? Siguro we can extend naman siguro kahit 5 minutes or 7 minutes. Baka may mga questions po kayo na pressing. No? Don't worry po, we'll provide you copies of the material, copies of the Public Service Continuity Plan Guidebook. No? E-book po ito. At bibigyan din po namin kayo ng trainees manual. So yung manual po na yun, napaka-friendly po ng mga materials nila. No, so kaya po I hope that you will be part of this very important endeavor of the university and we come up with a very important document para sasabihin na ang PUP ay compliant. Very good, PUP. Talagang PUP kayo, no? Pamantasang una sa paghahanda. And thank you very much for the effort. So hindi po namin, ako po ay nakikiusap o nagmamakaawa. Kailangan po namin kayo, hindi po namin kaya ang ito, no? Lalo't bago na po ang Disaster Resilience Institute, nagsimula lang ng July 2020 at napakarami pong dapat gawin. So we really need your help, brilliance, and expertise and experiences po. So sa inyo po namin, kayo po ay malaki po namin aasahan. No? Kami po ay nakadepende sa inyo at gagawin din po namin ang lahat para kayo po ay matulungan so we can have a good relationship and harmony so that we could come up with what are the things that we need. So for the meantime po, paghandaan nyo na po yung mga pwede natin gawin for us to complete the tasks 2 to 5. So medyo mabilisan lang po ito kasi po tayo po ay kailangan magmadali. So with that, thank you very much. Yan, walang nagtatanong. Bakit walang nagtatanong?
Sir, meron po ata sa ating chat box po.
Sa chat. Parang wala. Wala ka na. Ayan, thank you. Wait lang. Required po ba ang campus to have this? Opo, bawat campus po. No? So, ang bawat campus satellite dapat po merong PSCP plan. No? So, kung may kailangan po kayo, let us know. We can have a meeting with you para matulungan namin kayo. No? Kaya po, we invited all offices, we invited all sectors para at least isang pasada na lang lahat. No? If you need further information, technical understanding on how to do it, every part of it, we're here. No? We have our Chief Leo Maricuejo, Chief Gino Ras, and Chief Eric Calata. So we have our chiefs with you, and I myself as the director of the DRI, we're here to support you in any way possible para po natin matapos ang ating public service continuity plan. No? Yan. Salamat po. Ayan yung mga nagka-congratulate to PUP for this very in-depth template po, no? We will provide you templates po. Kaya po kinuha po namin yung inyong mga institutional email kasi bibigyan po namin kayo mismo ng set of documents that you need. Okay, meron pa bang mga tanong? Tignan ko nga, no? Colleges make our mini PSA. Okay, hindi po siya mini. Wag na po nating ituring na mini po. Yung college po, siguro po ito po ay from the OVPAA. So siguro mini kasi nga isang kolehiyo. So pwede po natin siyang gawin. And then yung sa OVPAA sector, i-consolidate po natin as one. No? So bawat sector po consolidated and then we will collect and consolidate and then we'll do our best to rewrite if necessary and to clarify with you kasi kayo po yung may-ari ng mga prosesong ito. No? Especially the mission elements. No? Siguro po we can focus on mission essential functions kasi dyan din po kami nag-focus when we attended the training, no? Last June 14 to 19. 5 days po yung training namin, no? At may exam pa, may pre-test and post-test, no? At ang hirap po ng exam. Pero napakaganda po ng kanilang LMS. Okay, so ano pa ba yung mga tanong? Yeah. Included po bang physical planning and development office? Lahat po. Lahat po ng processes, bawat office po na may process at you think these are critical functions of the office or core functions of the office, kasama po yan, no, sa ating paggawa ng mga tasks. Sir, ang urgent lang po ba dapat i-submit ay task 2 to 6? Ang urgent po ay yung tasks 2 to 5. Yung 6 po, yun po yung overall plan ng university. So kami na pong bahala doon. But syempre that will be presented rin. No? Kasi kayo po ay magkasama po sa special order ng ating PUP Continuity Core Team. So makikita nyo po lahat ng ating magiging output at dadaan po sa inyo ang lahat. Kasi po tayo po ay consultative, participatory, and we want this process as holistic as possible. And everything is integrated. Everyone is part of the loop. No one is left behind. O yan, the inclusive development tayo, inclusivity, concept of inclusivity and diversity. Sir, can you please reiterate the task expected? So tasks 2 to 5 po, no? So may mga ano na po alam ko po meron na po kayong mga continuity strategies, no? So meron na po kayong mga existing. And risk registers, meron na rin po kayo. I know, no? Kasi po kasama din po sa risk management team ng university and we review that, no? At I'm part of the committee under the institutional accreditation for task 1 risk management and governance, no? Ayan. So lead by the internal audit. Yan. Ano pa ba yung mga tanong? We would appreciate po sana if meron. Opo, meron pong template kaya hindi po kayo mahihirapan. Nakita niyo naman po yung mga present namin, may mga template, hindi po kayo mahihirapan at ilalagay din po namin mga examples dito para meron po at least kayong guide. No? But syempre, hindi niyo po kopyahin yun kung hindi naman po applicable sa inyo. No? Yan, ano pa ba? Mag-create ng group chat. Opo, no? So thank you ma'am. Nakalimutan ko si director sa PUP Maragondon, no? Kasi kasama po tayo. So we will definitely, yes, no? So thank you very much for the suggestion from PUP Maragondon. We will create po our PSCP group chat, no? So kung okay lang po sa inyo, no? So okay lang po ba? Mag-thumbs up naman po tayo kung okay sa inyo. Though alam po natin na napakarami na po nating group chat. Alam ko po yan. So nakakahilo na sa dami ng group chat. No? Kaya lang ito lang po ang isa sa mga napakamabilis na communication platform na magkaroon tayo ng group chat sa Messenger, Facebook Messenger. Yan. Thank you po. Yan. Ipe-present din po namin, ipopropose din po namin kung sino po yung magiging continuity core team. So, tinitingnan ko yung sa elected official natin or head of agency kung sino po yung ilalagay. But syempre, as head of agency, our president, and then kung sinabi ni president na ang ating chair na lang ng UDRRMC, yan po ay depende po sa ating top management. So next assignment po, yun po yung mga next assignment natin to complete the tasks 2 to 5 and paki-submit na lang po. No? Meron po kaming institutional email. No? Meron po kaming dri@pup.edu.ph. No? Pwede nyo pong isubmit yan. But of course, we will provide you with the templates, we will provide you with the PowerPoint, with the guidebook, and with the trainees manual, and all the other examples, templates for you to be guided properly. Yan. Yes, Sir Michael. Sir, may tanong ka?
Picture.
Picture na. Sige, parang sa amin, tapos sa Sir Ferdy. Yan, picture. Thank you very much po. So sana po naging kahit pa paano, malinaw, no, yung ating public service continuity plan at naintindihan po natin not only by our minds but also by our hearts na we are serving our university and of course our country. And as a state university, napaka-importante po na nandito tayo. Kaya hindi po kami masaya kung kayo po ay hindi namin makakasama. So maraming salamat po. I hope po wala na pong tanong. So at sabi ni Sir Michael, picture na tayo, Sir Ferdy. Yan. So mag-picture taking na po
Okay,
tayo.
ako na lang sir magpi-picture po.
Sige.
Okay,
Thank you, Sir Gino. Sige,
slide
ilang
1
slides?
po. Smile po muna. Smile. Okay. Second slide po. Smile. Okay, third slide po. Smile. Fourth slide. And last slide. Smile. Last na po. Okay, thank you so much po.
Yan, thank you very much. Kayo po ilalagay na po namin sa ating roster, no? At with that, God bless us all and we will be looking forward to your support. Thank you so much for
Bye.
attending.
Bye,
po.
Sir Ferdy.
Bye
Thank you
po.
po.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Salamat po sa ating presidente, salamat po sa ating mga sector heads, no, for helping and supporting for us to come up with our public service continuity group of the entire university. So thank you very much sa aking mga kasama sa Disaster Resilience Institute at sa lahat ng colleges, sa lahat ng PUP units and offices. Maraming salamat po and God bless us all. Para po sa ating PUP hymn, Sir Leo.
Meron ba?
Meron pa ba?
Wala na po. Wala na po.
Ay,
Okay na po.
Ay, sorry
Okay
na
na yung PUP. O, sige.
Alam, may PUP
Bye po.
pa.
Oo nga,
Bye-bye.
overtime na
Bye.
tayo. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Sige.